Blessed to be with you. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Dave Petzo joining us from the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin.
So the big news of the day, not that, it's Amazon Prime week. They say it's a day, but it's a week and this, that, and the other, and Amazon Prime this, Amazon Prime that, but James Bond is now a woman. James Bond is now a black woman. The new James Bond will be a black woman. Now, when we take a look at this, you grew up in the world of James Bond, as did I, and he's always been a white guy who's British. You take a look at the rebranding of this. How do you think that will play as far as rebranding? You know, many people say this is the new face of America, majority, minority, that sort of thing. But this is a heck of a chance that the producers of James Bond have taken. Your thoughts from the business perspective on this, sir?
Yeah, the business perspective. This is a hard one because I don't think that people throw money away. I do think it's a risk. And I also think that there's such a world and an isolated world. And I'm thinking about this from a business perspective. So let me finish this thought before you think I'm just jumping on it and calling Hollywood left. But I think you have this insular nature of really everywhere, right? If you're in Alabama, there's an insular nature on the right, and there's an insular nature on the left, certainly when you get into big cities. And I don't think that they think that flyover country thinks different than they do. So I do think it's potentially a big mistake, like I think potentially Nike's making a big mistake, where we are really, if you will, kowtowing to a certain audience and ignoring the rest of them, because I think people are going to be, James Bond is not a woman, period. And that's okay. Neither is Catwoman a man. I mean, or whatever female hero.
But they have made Spider-Man a woman, and they've made, they're redoing everything.
And young people maybe are okay with that. And Kevin, they're the ones that buy the tickets. And so that's where I from a business perspective, I got to say, I just am going to have to wait and see. But James Bond was such a cool thing growing up, and then when they made the shifts to different actors and things, I thought they did it very well, and I think for them by and large they hit a home run every time with new actors in it, and I thought it was an ongoing series that was just.
But here's the other thing, because we live in the woke Me Too world, James Bond was a womanizer.
Yes, he was.
Now, will the new James Bond, Jane Bond, I don't know how she'll handle that, but again, in our time, James Bond was the cool dude hanging out, the young ladies, always the young ladies, the Bond girls.
Yeah.
And then you have people saying, well, no, we live in the woke world, and that's bad.
Yeah, well, it seems weird to me that the Bond girls loved being Bond girls and they went on to other parts. So I think that the women who were on this show, and apparently according to the woke people, were abused, went on to careers and didn't feel terribly abused to get an opportunity to have a big break like that. So
it is fascinating, though, when you think of these iconic institutions, how society is really changing everything.
Yeah.
Now, here's another story. You big fan of Disney?
Yeah, overall, over time, yeah, not all their decisions by any stretch, but certainly from a business perspective, yes.
Well, believe it or not, Disney, last week they had a big fight at one of the parks, but Disney is hurting. I believe the new Star Wars park is hurting as well. Disney seems to be hurting. There aren't as many lines. I mean, you talk about brilliance, and I know they have a lot of overhead at Disney, but here you have, you pay, what is it, $100, $200 to get in?
Yeah.
Long lines.
And then you got to get a pass to get somewhere better on the line, yeah.
Right. And then you get the pass, and you still have, instead of waiting 3 hours, you wait 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour. They've really had this thing for quite some time, and yet now they appear to be hurting in a vibrant economy. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that to a degree you can have. First of all, hurting is more of a relative term, and Disney is certainly, as a company, doing very well, launching their own, if you will, version of Netflix. Some streaming stuff on their own that's been, at least by the market, has been the stock market. Their stock has been incredibly well received. So, Kevin, the stock itself is doing very well, saying that overall the direction of the company appears to be right on. They're much more media-based than they used to be. The theme parks are still doing well, just maybe not as long a lines, Kevin, and that's basically, I don't think that hurts them at all. Going to Disneyland became a joke. It became something that grandparents did for their grandkids, but they certainly did it only for the grandkids, because let's face it, who wants to spend that kind of money and stand out in the sun and listen to whiny kids for 3 hours before you can even get on a ride? I mean, that's just horrible. Doesn't that just sound horrible? Who wants to go there? And so if we can get the parks a little bit less people there, I think it's actually in the long term would be just fine for Disney.
Our great friend Dave Petza with us now at KIDOTalkRadio.com, home of the KIDO Talk Radio app. We did a story that I was fascinated by, and it has to do with one of your favorite stocks, Netflix.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Netflix. Now Netflix has, and again, we talk about podcasting, business wars, and there's one where Netflix versus Blockbuster. Then I think they've done a new one, Netflix versus Time Warner. So now we have Friends. Are you familiar with the show Friends?
I am.
Well, but you're a hip guy. All right. The Office. Are you familiar with The Office?
I am familiar with The Office.
Okay. Now, you and I watched those when they first came out.
Yep.
And believe it or not, I believe let's just say, we'll not be embellishing here for once on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's say conservatively, 50% of Netflix traffic allegedly is from The Office. And I think it's higher. So NBC Universal pulled it.
Yep.
They're going to have their own streaming service. The Friends got pulled by the new HBO Max for its own streaming service. Now, The Office has another year left. Friends ends at the end of this year. Now, Netflix has been very smart because they've been developing their own shows. They spent last year over $12 billion on content. But now you have Hulu. You have that free service Crackle. By the way, I tried it over the weekend. It's free. It's from Sony, Paramount, but there's commercials in it, and the commercials get obnoxious after a while when you're watching these old movies.
Yeah.
Then you have Marvel. You have DC, because Marvel is pulling all of its stuff. No more Avengers, no more Punisher, no more. Marvel will have its own under the Disney Plus thing.
Yep.
You've got ESPN Plus. Now you've got, again, NBC with their own, HBO Max with their own, which it'll be interesting to see how Amazon Prime with their own.
And you turned me on to Showtime.
Right.
There's another one.
Right. Billions. So, Bobby Axelrod, what do you make of the future for Netflix?
Because they have the distribution and they continue to grow globally, I think they're okay. But I got to tell you, the stock has not taken much of a hit, and I'm surprised. I really thought with all of the new launches here, and you haven't even hit on the one that I think is going to be killer big, and that's Apple.
Yeah.
I think when they really get going, Apple always does it right, and they do it really well, and they're going to get some content, whether they buy it, and also we've got Prime as well. So you've got a lot of different sources out there that are going to nip at the heels. Hey, for $9, $10 or whatever, but here's what I think it does for Netflix. I think it caps how much they can raise their future subscription price. That's what I think really caps it. I don't think people drop it for these other services. I think they keep it because it's $10. Who cares about $10? If a cup of coffee is $5, why am I going to care for a whole lineup of entertainment per month for $10? So I think that's what it caps, Kevin. But again, this is just my pure speculation as to why the stock continues to do well, and it's being hit by so much new competition. It can't be what it was going to be with all this competition. It just can't. There are, as you point out, so many different companies out there, and the key there that you're talking about is pulling content.
Indeed, our great friend Dave Petza with us now. I'd be remiss, and I'd be guilty of media malpractice if I didn't allow a little gloating from you.
A little what? Gloating?
Yeah.
That's nice of you. Really? 27,000 on the Dow, 3,000 in the S&P? Is that the gloating you're referring to?
Just going to sit here and listen.
Yeah. How about that? Now, seriously, is this the most hated market in all of history that has been that continues to hit records?
Kind of like cheering against Boise State, which I do quite a bit of.
Ouch, boy, you're really begging for some phone calls today, aren't you?
No
matter what.
I'm just sitting here being honest and authentic. You know?
Yes. Absolutely, the market has been incredible this year, and and of course, since we like to talk about local, how about Micron since earnings? And this is the end of June when they announced earnings, and they're up nearly 40%, 10% last week alone. This is an incredible run for a company, and the stock market is up 20% year to date. This is just an amazing run. And again, it's so hated. We just sit around every day and talk about all the tariffs, all the trade wars, all the this, all the that. And it just continues to roll. An amazing thing. And it should be, because we don't want to lose sight. Everybody gets wound up. And if the Fed does this, if the Fed does that, it's all driven by lower interest rates. If that's the case, how come interest rates have been continued to fall on the long side? And then I heard about this on Friday, about the inverted yield curve. Oh, my gosh, I thought we were over that. If it's not one thing, it's another, and people are all fussed about it. So there you go, Kevin. Buy the United States of America. Go long America and stay there.
On the other hand, and you've been very honest about this, and as long as our corporate giants will allow us to be honest here on the airwaves that they control, licensed by the Federal Communications Commission, Micron can have record profits, but that still doesn't stop what people tell me, and maybe they tell you about what's really going on inside there, where the local people are out. Other people are coming in that don't have the ties to the area.
Yep.
The CEO doesn't live here.
Company's moving.
Big $6 billion investment in Virginia. Got a big $1 billion investment in Hong Kong or Taiwan or one of those places. And here, well, they're committed. If you're and look, everybody is always scared about their economic livelihood, but no one's covering this story. No one's covering the story at all about what's really happening there. And I guess what are you going to do? You're going to talk to people. Got the guy that sued because he didn't get a promotion. That made the papers. But there seems to be an undercurrent here. So I'm going to be naive.
Yeah.
I'm never naive with you. I'm going to be naive and say, like Bill O'Reilly used to say, why can't you, if you're doing well, take care of the people that allow you to do well? A case in point, he was talking about the difference between Mitt Romney's dad and Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney's dad ran American Motors Company. You remember the old AMC. And Bill O'Reilly made this point, like General Motors, AMC at the time, they wanted to give him more money. And he goes, no, I'm going to cap it because I don't need any more. And then you have his son, who's a venture capitalist. Well, more money, the better.
Right.
So is that being naive, saying, here you have this facility. It's kind of like what happened to the coal mines, the rubber plants, the steel mills. All those people left the places that made them. Your thoughts?
Technology replaces jobs, and it also creates new jobs. And that's something that's in dynamic flux. What I don't like that's going on at Micron specifically is that they are moving the headquarters, obviously, down into Silicon Valley. And so that's going to change their, if you will, their muscle here, their local presence. I don't think they're going to move the fab, but they're not investing, as you point out, the billions of dollars here. They're doing it in Virginia. So this is now a leftist-leaning company that does not have roots in the heartland, if you will, Idaho. It has roots in Silicon Valley, and that's where they're going to be. And we're just going to have to deal with that, because guess what? The board of directors hired a guy from Silicon Valley, and that's where, and he's calling the shots, and they're not saying you have to move here. So that's it. And when we report the stock, that's the stock. It's not its presence within within Boise and within Idaho. But it is a big company here, and I don't suspect they're going to leave here, Kevin. But it is disappointing. Yeah, I'm sad. I'm sad that the old guys are all gone, and there's no real local flavor to Micron anymore.
Which is odd, because we keep attracting people from Silicon Valley here. More on the future of that. Dave Petzo's wound up. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling right along with Dave Petzo, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. Kevin Miller in the morning. So we were talking about, you were just fired up there at the break, talking about the future of not only Micron, but the Treasure Valley and everything else. Summertime, people have checked out. What's really going on in the financial community? Iran now says that if the president lifts the sanctions, they'll go back to the negotiating table. That appears to be a victory for us. Does that impact our energy prices at all?
No, not really. I suppose, but that they can pump a little bit more oil. But, Kevin, their ability to pump oil compared to the United States is nothing anymore. OPEC is nothing. It's a shell of an organization.
What does that mean, though, for Saudi Arabia? Because as you and I have discussed, the Saudis shrewdly have been trying to figure out when their oil money is gone, like, what are they going to do? Some say they're trying to be touristy. Some say they're trying to be something else. Hold that thought for a second. Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. And back to Dave Petso. Saudi Arabia, what's its future?
Yeah, Saudi Arabia has a better future because they have been working on that. But, Kevin, it's not – certainly living in Saudi Arabia has its own challenges, to say the least, about the climate there. So it is something that's going to be difficult for them to transition. But they're working on it. We'll see what they can pull off. And if we do figure out desalinization, and I think we will sooner than later, then at a reasonable price, then I do think that Saudi Arabia will end up doing just fine. And they do have a lot. They've got billions of dollars that have been set aside and in anticipation of declining energy prices, income.
Sure,
but it's not a good thing for them either. It really is not. But the diminishing of power from enemies such as Iran is a very good thing for them.
Let's talk about a good thing. Prime Day. It's like Prime Week. Now we've got other people, other parts of Walmart doing this. They're responding to Amazon. You have apparently Amazon has better deals on Apple's own products in Apple stores, the iPad, the iWatch. By the way, from what we hear, one of the tips that if you want something on Amazon, you put it in your cart, and apparently they will send you a notification when they have the best ever deal possible. That's a trick, allegedly. So never let it be said that old Kevin Miller doesn't know the tricks.
You do. You're a tricky guy. People don't know that about you.
I will gladly accept that description. Tricky Kevin Miller. So, Amazon Prime, this is a big event. And you think about it, this company created it.
Yep.
You're big on Amazon. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I think they're the Death Star. I'm probably the last guy in Boise that's not a Prime member. But I do use it once in a while.
Wait a minute. You're not a Prime member.
I am not a Prime member.
You don't get the free deliveries. You don't get the.
I do get free delivery. I'll wait for it.
Wait a minute. The movie stuff alone is worth the membership.
I don't watch enough Netflix. I probably shouldn't be a member of Netflix. I mean,
right? You're too busy living the life. But anyway,
try to, especially in the summer. But anyway, but the point is that I just don't. I just don't think it's necessary to get there in 2 days. I can wait a week for things, and I do order things that are difficult to find. Right. A special battery or something like that. So Amazon for me is great for that, but I just don't want to do that. It's the Death Star. It's killing retail, and I'm not the guy that lives in the past.
Do you go to retail? Do you shop at retail?
I try not to, but for what I do, I'm happy about it.
So do you go to the bookstore? Like we have one in town now. You remember when we had Hastings?
Why would I go to the bookstore?
We had Borders. We had Barnes & Noble.
Yep.
And now we just have Barnes & Noble.
I never found it to be a particularly cool hangout like other people do.
You don't hang out at the books? Okay.
No.
Social commentary time. Whether it's the bookstore or the coffee shop, what do you make of the people that come in? And some of them, they don't even have the courtesy to buy something. And look, if they can't afford it, I get it. But and maybe they come in for the free Wi-Fi. Okay, there's the politically correct disclaimers. But they come in and they set up shop.
Yep.
And they hold meetings.
Yep.
Okay, I get holding meetings, but like you're running your laptop and then 3 laptops and all these things, and you see it at the Barnes and Nobles, you see it at Starbucks. Social commentary time, Dave Petso. What do you make of that?
Buy a cup of coffee. They can buy a cup of coffee, and they do.
And stay all day then. Huh?
I don't think that's great either. But at the same time, what I think Starbucks has brought it on themselves. They're sitting there, we're going to have needle dispensaries and bizarre stuff like that.
They threw out the cops last week, too.
Yeah, exactly. This is just off the charts. I heard you talking about that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I caught that segment, and that's off the charts stupid. And in this name of political correctness, we can't even have any common sense about it. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense to have the very people that protect our society kicked out of a building because somebody's uncomfortable. Well, why are they uncomfortable? Are they going to try to rob you and so they're uncomfortable? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely bizarre. And that kind of thing I just don't think plays out well. If you look at Seattle, and I go there a lot for my grandkids.
Well, that's what you say you go for your grandkids. I think you're taking orders from Microsoft, but that's my own thought.
Well, there's plenty of good people there, but I got to tell you, it's really something. It's so overrun with homeless, with drugs.
Are you worried about that coming here?
It's as long as we continue as a community to support the rescue mission the way this community does. I do not. But without them, we will look exactly like that. That's how big a deal the rescue mission is.
Boise Rescue Mission, for those keeping score at home on KIDO Talk Radio. But what is it because we're so small? You'll go to Seattle, and in a past life I was fixated on Salt Lake City.
Yep.
And you go there, they got the mean homeless. You go anywhere, it's the mean homeless except here.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's a matter of, there's a couple things. It's not just because it's bigger, Kevin. It's because they don't deal with it. And the rescue mission, the Boise Rescue Mission, has a pathway forward for everybody. And in a community where that is the case, then you just don't have to have the tolerance for people that are going to pitch a tent in the sidewalk. Now, when I was there 5 years ago or so, or 4 years ago, whatever it was, and we step around a tent in the middle of the sidewalk in downtown Seattle, and it's like, what is this? Oh, they can pitch a tent anywhere. When you start allowing people to do that, they do. And then it becomes a really big problem. Now Seattle's having to backpedal, kick them out of parks, move them from place to place. Now they've got needles everywhere, trash everywhere, and they still aren't dealing with the problem, which is really a drug problem. And that, until we name it what it is, it's a mental illness, it's drug addiction, alcoholism, all those things. And until we talk about that reality, because you and I, we're not just, praise to God, but I'm one step away from homelessness. You are not. That is not true, but people who are mentally ill are.
Dave Petzo joining us, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. Catch him this week, Money Matters 8 to 10. Dave, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Rolling on the right side, did you know KIDO Talk Radio is available on the App Store or Google Play? Just type in KIDO Talk Radio. Download the app, and you can hang out and check out all our great personalities and find out what Rachel Sutherland is doing, which we'll find out right now from Fox News Radio Live from Capitol Hill. That's right, the Capitol Hill. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So here we have it. I'm wringing my hands. I'm watching the shows, and we've got the timer on the side. Ice raids start now. Well, like in radio, when you push the button and sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, they start now.
Well, it could be any time over the coming days. They were supposed to start yesterday,
right?
But things have been very quiet in the cities that were targeted. So we're not really sure what's going on as it stands right now. There had been administration officials saying, yes, the raids are taking place, but in these targeted cities, in Chicago, for example, no real raids seen, but there are a lot of protests going on. That's the activity you see there. It could be because this was let out of the bag, and ICE may want the element of surprise. Also, we know that there's been a lot of leaders in sanctuary areas that are saying we're not going to cooperate with the federal government. And even the mayor of Los Angeles posted a Twitter video, even posting a hotline number to call should someone get a knock on the door. So not only are they not cooperating with federal law enforcement, they're trying to help these immigrants who are targeted for deportation to stay in the country. The administration says they're going after criminals, people who have broken the law, people who have been under orders of deportation but have ignored them. So these are people who, by and large, have had their due process, and were expected to be deported and are essentially hiding.
I don't know how that would work. So you're in the country illegally. You didn't show up for your hearing. They knock on your door. They can't come in, but then you call the local authorities. What are the local authorities supposed to do? Come in and tell ICE to leave? Isn't that odd?
That's right. I mean, That's what the local authorities, are trying to protect them. And it's been pretty controversial. And Kevin, I don't need to tell you, this has really changed over the past several years. Not even several, the past few years. A lot of the public sentiment on the left has changed when it comes to these issues. I mean, President Obama deported tons of people. And there's footage of him talking about this very thing. If you're in the country illegally, breaking the law, you're going to be deported. But these days, it's just changed so much, especially since President Trump took office.
Okay, a couple other things. You've got President Trump telling some congresswomen, love it or leave it. Like I said, never a dull moment, Rachel. You got a lot of job security lately.
Yeah, well, those tweets were very controversial, where he was saying they call them the squad, the 4 freshman lawmakers, all but one born in the United States, to go back to their home countries and try to fix the problems there. So that caused a lot of an uproar. There's House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying that President Trump wants to make America white again. You've got a lot of backlash from that. The president kind of digging down this morning on Twitter and basically, defending his tweets. And he actually thinks that the squad owes him and other people an apology, I guess, for some of the things that they've been saying. So the president definitely doubling down. He doesn't seem to be apologetic in any kind of way for those for the tweets.
Right, and then we could go on and on. I know you're very busy, Rachel. Coming up this week, we'll talk about the squad, Nancy Pelosi. The president's actually really brought them together, which is odd.
It is strange. It takes the focus off of the infighting in the Democratic Party and, united them. So I don't know if that was his aim by any stretch of the imagination, but that sort of happened.
Rachel Sutherland, thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Kevin.
Rachel Sutherland joining us via Fox News Radio. When you hear Fox News on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. Few things going on. We've got the ICE raids that are going on, but they're not going on. As you heard from Rachel Sutherland, you have the liberal progressive folks saying, we are not going to cooperate with ICE. We are going to stop them, right? Now, this is what I don't understand. Maybe we should call this the definition of insanity. Maybe we should call this the end of the world as we know it. You have lawfully elected mayors. You have misguided social justice warriots. I don't even want to call them warriors. Social justice misfits that are protesting the ICE raids. Do you really know what ICE is doing? ICE is doing their job. So let's just go over for people keeping score at home, which I hope you are, or in your job, it's all about accountability. You have to be accountable to your family, to your God, to your work, to your community. We all do, right? Otherwise, we're deviants and criminals, and we've got enough of those around. That's what makes a good person: authenticity, accountability. So let's just go over the scorecard real quick before we get to your phone calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You have people coming into the country illegally. They're caught. They're detained. They claim political asylum. They say, we're going to be good little illegals, and we're going to come back because we want to enter the country legally. Okay, you can do so. Just come back in 20 days. They never show. You don't show. You gots to go. All ICE is doing, and you have millions of people in this country illegally, is arresting 2,000. Time to go. You lose. You're driving without a license. You're here without a social security card. And what do we have? We have people flipping out and going crazy. This is what I don't understand. Somebody share this with me. The Star ID card. Every state in the country, you better have one, little K. Millie, you little plump little cherub. I know that's redundant, but it's early in the week. Come here, fatty Kevin Miller. You better give me your birth certificate. You better give me your passport. You better give me your utility bills and your social security number, or you're not getting on airplanes because of security, right? Yet you have someone coming into this country in states like Washington, California, Oregon. You can come in and they'll just give you a driver's license. You can get in-state tuition even if you're not a citizen. And if you go, hey, man, what's in it for me? You're a bad person and a xenophobe. This is the last stand. Our great friend Sean Hannity always talks about this is the most important election. It really is. It really is when we're thinking about this. And then you have the social justice misguided fools going on and on about ICE shouldn't do its job.
Don't open the door. If you get in touch with them, they don't have the right to open your door. So if they knock your door, just don't open, and that's it.
Hello, who is it? It's ICE. We're not home. Come out. You're here illegally. Turn yourself in. Come back later. We're doing the dishes. And yet you have people going crazy. They can't go into your door. So how bad is it? Here, one more time, Antonio Campo.
Don't open the door. If you get in touch with them, they don't have the right to open your door. So if they knock your door, just don't open, and that's it.
Right. Another misguided person. You've got ICE running around. You have Jennifer Perberis with the Colorado Rapid Response Network. What is that about? Let's hear what she has to say.
Some people don't have status. Some people don't have a visa because our system is so convoluted and so difficult.
It's the system. That's another one of my favorite things. You have people that come here on work visas, student visas, and you know what? They expire and they don't go. They don't have a sell-by date. They just stay because there's no penalty. Now, you go to China, you go to Mexico, you go to Canada, and you overstay your welcome. You got a vamoose, dear true believer.
He's a hardworking, honest man.
An incredible family man. He was a businessman. He had a painting company, I believe. So when he was here at the church, he actually got involved doing a lot of things.
And you have some people in the churches hiding the illegals in the churches. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, this is just a small part of the problem. And they've got parades and marches, and you don't have to open the door.
ICE's priorities are always going to remain criminal aliens, those people that are here illegally and have committed additional crimes against American citizens.
That's right. You got to go. Who in their right mind would want the criminals to stay?
I don't even like the word raids. These are target enforcement action against people who are criminal aliens or those who have had due process and have a final order of removal and have still refuse to comply with that and remain here illegally.
Well, who would want to go? The pudding's delicious. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. People are upset with the president's tweets. We'll talk about that coming up.
Not too far afield from the 3 years of hate crime increase in this country, not just that it offends our sensibilities or that he's lying to us or not being transparent, but that he's changing the character of America in real time, giving permission not just to those Border Patrol agents, but to folks on the street to be hateful and not to work in love, in compassion.
Don't be hate. Be grateful. Generate. Don't hate. Beto O'Rourke, he's mad that the ICE raids are happening. He's also mad that his presidential campaign's going nowhere.
What Donald Trump is doing today across this country in the name of safety and security will make us less safe and less secure as a result. will tarnish the great tradition of this country and will be a stain on our conscience for as long as we allow this to persist.
You know, it's funny. You ever meet somebody that they over-enunciate? That's what Beto is doing. I'm over-enunciating everything, and the president is a bad person because that's just the way it is, right? By the way, another crazy, wacky story. We'll get back to that. By the way, don't let me hog the conversation. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, we'll have the latest concerning the president's war. Well, not war, his, what do you call that? His disagreement with the 4 progressive liberal congresswomen. Basically, if you don't like America, if America's wrong, then go to the countries you were born in. Now, 3 of the 4 were born in America. Omar wasn't. People are denouncing this. But when you're alone, you're thinking to yourself, are these people elected to represent America, or are they represented to represent some other country? Do we really need people in Congress telling us how bad America is? We had 8 years of that as a president. His name was Barack Obama. Now, George Noory, I'm sure George Noory is going to be down there covering it. Remember, George Noory, only right here on KIDO Talk Radio. We love the George Noory. So if you're one of the reported, now it's up to 1.5 million people who plan to storm Area 51 on September 20th, well, the military is saying, come and get us. U.S. Air Force spokeswoman Laura McAndrews wants everyone to understand that Area 51 is still an open training range for the Air Force, and the military always stands ready to protect America and its assets. McAndrews didn't give out specifics how the Air Force might defend itself against an attempted base jacking. Isn't Area 51 like thousands of miles? So in reality, it's going to be a while, right? I mean, how are you going to cover that? But the Air Force didn't give out specifics on what Area 51 is used for. Now, it started out as a joke. People say they're going to storm Area 51. If you've ever dealt with the military, they have no sense of humor when it comes to that. Let's go to Kurt in Boise. Kurt, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Oh, good morning, Kevin. You know, I wanted to talk about how, just how ICE is just the bad guys, and how all the illegals are telling them not to answer the door and everything. Sometimes I wonder if it's actually gone too far. I mean, we're the last Sebastian here in Idaho, or California and Oregon and Washington, and everybody's just letting them in Colorado now. And I'm just truly wondering if it's gone too far, if we can stop the flood or try to empty out the bowl, if you will, because it's just crazy.
Well, when you have people, it's only 2,000 people protesting, taking to the streets. They can't even go into these homes of the illegals, don't answer the door, everything's fine. What's the big deal? It's like driving around without an expired driver's license. That seems to be more enforceable than our own citizenship, Kurt.
Well, I know. I mean, we used to, when you're driving around, the cops can stop you for a broken taillight, or if you run a red light, or if you're even now in Idaho, we even have laws in the highways. If you're driving too slow, they can stop you.
Sure.
But when they give you a driver's license and they let you just go about your daily life and really never truly enforce it, like you were saying earlier, we have so many visas. You got a student visa, you got a work visa, and they stamp it, and then they never leave. So, I mean, I think it's been going on for how many years now, brother? 40, 50 years. And I'm just curious if there's a real way that we could kind of lasso them all in, or, get them into the corral, if you will. But I don't know if there really is, because, I mean, isn't it illegal to actually ask them if they're here illegally?
Yep.
So I'm just starting to really, truly, just like you were saying, every election is the most important one. I mean, just God forbid if Hillary would have got in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now with these wackos coming in from the Democratic Party, if one of those happens, even Uncle Joe, I mean, he's probably the most conservative wacko there is on that side. If he gets in, I just truly hope that Trump gets reelected because I don't know what we're going to do. The barbarians are at the gate.
Indeed. And here we are, the defenders of the flame. Kurt, thank you for the call.
You bet, brother.
All right. Kevin Miller in the morning, traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Thank you, Dave Burnett. Appreciate your work. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. But, you know, when you hear these folks and they're saying, don't open the doors, don't do anything, it's just crazy. It's just wild. And you have people complaining about it? Look, as Kurt just said, imagine if Hillary had won. Imagine if Kamala Harris wins. Imagine if Sleepy Joe wins. There's sense and there's nonsense. And our job is to make sure that we get the sense and eliminate the nonsensical propaganda emanating from just about every other outlet except good old KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.